everyone and welcome to my channel. Today's topic for discussion is deferred tax. Now deferred tax is one such topic where I have seen a lot of students get confused, especially the identification of whether it is a deferred tax asset or whether it is a deferred tax liability. So I thought to make a video covering this topic and explaining it in a very basic, simple manner and giving you stepwise instructions on how you can identify whether it is a deferred tax asset or whether it is a deferred tax liability. After watching this video, I am very confident that you will never again be confused about a DTA or a DTL. So without much ado, let's head to the blackboard. Hi guys, today we are going to be studying about income taxes. This is a fairly tricky concept, so we will keep it a little slow. We will try and maintain a slow pace so that you understand the basics and the fundamentals of this topic clearly. Now, before we start with the core essence of the chapter, there are some basic terms and terminologies that you need to be knowing and some basic fundamentals that you at least need to be aware of. Okay, so first thing, of course, tax. You as an individual are paying a tax, right? That tax is what comes from your tax return. You follow the tax laws of the country, you calculate your taxes, and that is the tax that you pay to the government. Now, this is an individual point of view. Now, let's expand our horizons and think about it from the point of view of a business. Okay, so when a businessman does business, he also generates some profit on which he has to pay some tax. So, this business makes a P&L, okay, which he makes following the financial accounting concepts. So the P&L is being made as per the financial accounting concepts, but at the same time, a tax return is also made because you need to decide, right, how much tax you are paying to the government. And this tax return is made as per the tax laws of the country. It's very defined, it's very clear, it's very rule based. There are tax laws of every country which determine how much tax you should pay. On the other hand, the P&L here is made as per the financial accounting concepts. So do you think that the tax which is calculated as per the P&L will always be equal to the tax that is calculated as per the tax return? When the underlying logic with which you are making your P&L and the underlying logic with which you are making your tax return is not the same, then the tax that is made as per your P&L need not always be same as per the tax that you are getting as per your tax return. So understand this first, that there is a difference. Okay. Now, in order to make things a little simple for us to follow, let's talk of P&L as the businessman and let's talk of the tax return as the taxman. So, understand this, that as far as the business is concerned, okay, as far as it is everything about the businessman is going to decide, okay, what goes in the P&L, what's debited, what's credited. Businessman can do whatever he wants over there. Of course, there is a financial regulatory framework, there is audit, etc. But businessman is going to decide what happens in the P&L. On the other hand, taxman decides what happens in the tax return. Clear? Now, remember, what is actually the tax that you are going to pay, the actual tax that you will pay to the government will obviously be something that is calculated as per the tax laws. So, it will be what the taxman tells you. So, if the taxman tells you, you have to pay me 100 rupees worth of tax as per my logic, and if the businessman tells you, no, as per my P&L, I have followed it and I am getting a profit which is determining my income tax. So let's say a 30% tax on profit is what is being followed. So as per the profit that I am getting in my P&L, I should pay a tax of rupees 120. Okay, so the businessman is saying I should pay a tax of 120 rupees. The taxman is saying that I should pay a tax of 100 rupees. Now, what do you think? What is the actual tax? The actual tax, the very tangible money that is going out of the business. What do you think? What will be paid? Will 120 rupees be paid or will 100 rupees be paid? Of course, you will be paying 100 rupees, right? Because the taxman is telling you, pay me 100 rupees. End of story. You are going to be paying 100 rupees. So this 100 rupees is the actual money that you will pay. This is the actual cash outflow. But the businessman is going to say, hello, I decide what goes on in my P&L, okay? And if in my P&L there is some profit, I will apply my tax rate on it, and in my P&L I will record 120 rupees as my tax expense. So here there is a mismatch. And this brings me to my two key terminologies which you need to understand. The tax expense which is being paid as per your P&L, okay? It is not actually paid, but the income tax expense that you are getting in your P&L of 120 rupees is as per financial concepts. This 120 rupees of income tax expense is what is happening in the P&L. This cash outflow of 100 is the actual tax payable. This is called tax payable, which is your tax liability, which is what you need to pay, and this is what is determined as per your taxman. So this is there in the tax return. So these are the two key concepts which we discussed in this section of the video, which is what is income tax expense and what is tax payable. You need to get these two terminologies very clear in your head. You need to understand why income tax expense can be different from tax payable. Clear? So in our example, 120 rupees was income tax expense, 100 rupees was tax payable, and 20 rupees was the difference. 20 rupees was the difference between my income tax expense and my tax payable. Now in the next section we will talk about this difference, but before we do that, let us again revise once what is income tax expense, what is tax payable, and now we will talk in exam terms. Okay, this was an example for you to understand, but now let's get down to the proper technical definitions of what income tax expense is, what is tax payable. Let's understand the terminologies once again, and then we will get down to that difference of 20 rupees and what does that difference mean. There is a terminology for the difference also. There is a lot of analysis which we will go over the difference, but before that, let's revise our terminologies once. Okay, so let us get into revising the key terminologies. Okay, so accounting profit is the pre-tax income which was calculated in the P&L. So as per my profit and loss statement, the profit that I am getting is accounting profit, which is very obvious from the name also. This same thing in the tax return is called as taxable income. So the pre-tax profit that I am getting in my tax return is called as taxable income. So it's the same thing, but there are two different men and they are going to call it two different things. Okay, of course the value will differ because we are talking about value in two different statements, but the item that I am talking about is essentially the same. Accounting profit is the profit on which you calculate your accounting tax. Taxable income is that income again on which you will calculate your income tax. Now this was the first terminology. The second is income tax expense and tax payable. Now this is the most important difference that we need to understand for this chapter. This is the key difference. Income tax expense is the expense that you are booking in your profit and loss statement, or the expense that you are booking in your income statement. Okay, when I am saying P&L, I essentially mean income statement only. So income tax expense is the tax expense as per the businessman, okay, which is going to be recorded in your income statement. Tax payable is the tax which you should pay as per the taxman. And remember, what is the actual tax that you will actually end up paying? It will be the tax payable. It will be what the taxman is telling you to do. So tax payable is the tax that you should pay as per your tax return. And this is carrying value, which we use to refer to the net amount of asset or liability, as the case may be, as it stands in your books of accounts. So let's say I have a machinery, I purchased it 5 years ago, so I depreciated it over 5 years, and now I have a different value of that machinery in my books. So that value is called the carrying value. This is different from the cost because I must have purchased it at a different cost. As of now, what it is standing at in my balance sheet, in today's balance sheet, what is the value at which it is standing? That is called as the carrying value. The same thing, I'm referring to the same concept. The same concept in my tax return is called as the tax base. So what is the value of the machinery as per the tax concept? That is the tax base of the asset. So this is not very relevant right now. We will come back to it. But for now, and generally also, you need to be very aware of the difference between what is income tax expense, what is tax payable, and why they are different. Okay, why are they different? Because one is recorded as per financial reporting, it is in my income statement. The other is recorded as per the tax laws of the country, it is in my tax return. The two can be different. What is in the income statement is called income tax expense. What is in my tax return is called tax payable. Clear? So now that we are clear with the key terminologies, let's move on and try to understand the difference in detail. So the difference can either be permanent or it can be temporary. We are going to be concerned only with temporary differences. Why so? So what is exactly a temporary and what is a permanent difference? A permanent difference is a difference which will not reverse in the future. So for example, a permanent difference happens when something in your income statement and something in your tax return do not align, and they will not align. It is not that things will get resolved a few years down the line. No, it will not align. We need to go our separate ways. Okay, so that is called as a permanent difference. Let me give you an example. Suppose you did not pay some dues, you breached some contract, something of that nature, and you had to pay a fine. Okay, you had to pay a penalty. So in your income statement, what will you do? You have incurred an expense. Whatever expense you've incurred, it is going to go in your income statement. You are going to debit it in your income statement. It will reduce your profit. That is what will happen for sure in the income statement. But in your tax return, the taxman will say, hello, you have incurred a fine. Do you actually expect to save taxes on incurring a fine? No, I'm not going to do that, right? As the taxman, I will tell you, you've incurred a fine, that's your problem. I will not use that fine as a tool to reduce your taxable income so that you pay less taxes and save tax as a consequence of incurring a fine. You're understanding how absurd it is. So this is an expense which is permanently disallowed under your tax. So something like this will cause a permanent difference in your profit as per income statement and in your profit as per tax return. The permanent difference does not have any impact on calculation of the deferred tax asset or the deferred tax liability, which we will be discussing shortly. Permanent difference impact your effective tax rate, which we will discuss later. For now, all you need to understand is that this is a permanent difference, and permanent difference is not our cause of concern right now. We are not bothered with permanent difference. What are we bothered with then? We are bothered with temporary differences. That is, differences which have occurred right now, but they will get resolved in future. Okay, they will reverse over a period of time. These are the differences that we are concerned with. So, in case of temporary differences, there are obviously two possibilities. One is that your income tax expense, now I am using the proper terminology again and again so that it gets drilled into your head as to what is income tax expense and what is tax payable. Income tax expense is what the businessman is saying, tax payable is what the taxman is saying. So in our example, the income tax expense was more than the tax payable. Remember, we were arriving at a figure of 120 as per our books of accounts, and the tax payable was coming to 100. And let's say this difference of 20 is temporary. Now what does this essentially mean? This means that today you will end up paying less tax. That's for sure. Because remember, when it comes to paying tax, who's the god? The taxman is the god. And therefore, you will have to pay 100. You will have to pay 100 because your tax laws say you have to pay 100. But you know that this 20 is a temporary difference. Therefore, in future you will have to pay this 20 also. So this will get reversed over time. You will have to pay this 20 more in future, and if you have to pay something in future, this is your liability. Okay. And if it is your liability, we call it as the deferred tax liability, or the DTL, which I'm calling it in short here. Deferred tax liability, meaning essentially you've deferred this tax liability because you have to pay it. You've deferred this tax liability into the future, hence the name deferred tax liability. This 20 will reverse over time. So what will happen is, let's say you have recognized some revenue in your books of accounts. You have to understand why this is happening. If your income tax expense is higher, why is your income tax expense higher? Because the accounting profit is higher. Am I right? Tax is calculated on something, that something is your accounting profit. In case it is the income statement, in case it is your tax return, that thing is called as the taxable income. We just saw it in the terminology, right? So for whatever reason, if your profit is more than your taxable income, then your income tax expense is going to be more than your tax payable. When will your accounting profit be more than your taxable income? Now this is very simple. What causes profit to be higher? There are only two things. You've either booked more revenue or you have booked less expenses. These are the only two possibilities, nothing else is happening. Either you've booked more revenue or you've booked less expenses, and because of this your profit is higher than what has happened in your tax return. So again, let's go from top to bottom. Your accounting profit is more than your taxable income. Therefore, your income tax expense is more than your tax payable, which means that now here, to understand whether it's an asset or a liability, it needs to be very clear as to what are you actually going to pay. Because if you are paying more, it will become an asset. If you are paying less, it will become a liability. That is why you need to very clearly understand that what I am paying is the tax payable, is what the tax man is saying. So if the tax payable is less, which means that I will have to pay it more in the future, because we are talking about temporary differences. I'll have to pay in the future, therefore it is a deferred tax liability. So this right here, this 20 bucks, this is a deferred tax liability. I will have to pay it in the future. In my income tax expense was 120, which means that in my P&L I will record 120 only. Because remember, what happens in the P&L is what the businessman says. Businessman says income tax expense is 120, you're going to record 120 in the P&L. If you record 120 as an expense in your P&L and only pay 100 rupees, okay, you are only paying 100 cash, and 120 is what the expense should be as per you. So what happens to the balance 20? The balance 20 is something that you have to pay, right? It is something that you have to pay, which means it is a deferred tax liability. It's as simple as that. If you are saying I have to pay 120, which is your income tax expense, tax payable is 100, which means that that extra 20 which I still have to pay is a deferred tax liability. It is this simple, okay? This is what is deferred tax liability. Why does a deferred tax liability occur? Because your revenue is higher or your expense is lower than what has happened in the tax return. You don't need to mug this up. You have to just think logically that if my profit is more, then only I have to pay, as per me, I have to pay a higher tax. And when will my profit be more? When my revenue is more or my expense is less. So this is deferred tax liability. Let's move on to deferred tax assets. So now let's consider the reverse case where that 20 of a difference, how will it become a deferred tax asset? So let's say my income tax expense is less than my tax payable, which means that the taxman is telling me pay me 120, but as per me I should be paying only 100. When I say me, I mean the businessman. So if as per the business you should be paying 100, but as per tax you should be paying 120, this results in a deferred tax asset. How? Because see, again, the logic is clear. You need to understand what is the amount you are actually paying. You are actually paying 120 rupees. You are actually paying 120 rupees, which means that you are paying more right now. If you are paying more right now, you will have to pay less in the future. Okay, because this, remember, we are talking about temporary differences, meaning differences which will reverse. So if I am paying more right now, I will have to pay less in the future, which is, it will save me money in the future. Okay, Therefore, this 20 rupees is a deferred tax asset. Understood? Again, you can also think of it like this, that as per me, the expenditure is 100. I ended up paying 120, which means that I have prepaid or I have paid extra, which means that I will have to pay less in the future. Therefore, this minus 20 is my deferred tax asset. I will record it as an asset because I've paid more. I will have to pay less in the future. Now let's get into the reasons of why a deferred tax asset occurs. For that, again, you need to think logically up the chart. Okay, when will your tax expense as per books be lesser than the tax expense as per your tax return? It will be lesser when, of course, your accounting profit is lesser than your taxable income. And what are the reasons for your profit to be lesser? Again, very simple reasons. Either your revenue is lower or your expenditure is more. There is also a third reason, which is called as the tax loss carry forward. Now, what is the tax loss carry forward? Let's say you started a startup or you opened a semiconductor business somewhere, and in the initial years, because you were incurring a lot of capex or a lot of marketing or whatever, you were incurring a lot of losses. So at the end of it, you did not have a net profit, you had a net loss. So what does net loss mean? Does it mean that the government will give you tax on your loss? No, that won't happen. But in certain cases, if your business is eligible, you are allowed to carry forward that tax loss for some defined period of time, 8 years, 5 years, whatever. So if you have been incurring losses, you should ideally not pay tax, which you are not paying tax. But on that loss, technically speaking, if you have a profit and I am giving tax to the government, if I have a loss, government should give tax to me. That is not going to happen. What the government can do and is that it will tell you that whenever you start making profit, you reduce this loss from that profit, and whatever net profit you get, that is after reducing the losses, whatever profit you get, you pay me tax on that profit. So this is tax loss carry forward, where in the past you have incurred certain losses. Now you've started incurring profits within a specified period of time. You can deduct your historical losses against your present profit, and whatever is the profit left after deducting these losses, you can start paying tax on that. So this is another reason why your accounting profit can be lesser than your taxable income, and if this is the case, you're going to have a deferred tax asset. Okay, this was deferred tax asset. What we previously saw was deferred tax liability. Very simple concepts, but the basics need to be very clear so that you don't get confused in it. You probably need to go through this concept 2 times, 3 times. You probably need to revise it a little more than the other concepts, but the logic has been laid out there before you for you to analyze. Okay guys, now let's go over the concept of deferred tax asset and deferred tax liability one final time. Let's just summarize the entire thing from a P&L perspective. Okay, case 1, your income tax expense is more than your tax payable, which means that your businessman is saying that there is more tax to pay as compared to what your taxman is saying. Now, you will always follow what the taxman is saying as far as the question is about how much tax to pay. Okay, so we follow the taxman and we pay less tax. If we are paying less tax today, because these are all temporary differences, these will reverse, which means that we will have to pay more tax in the future. Paying more tax in the future means by definition a liability. If you have to pay something in the future, it is a liability today. So that is why the difference is now a deferred tax liability. Simple. Now let's move on over to the deferred tax asset side. Here the taxman is telling you that you need to pay more tax. Okay, so the tax payable is more than your income tax expense, which means that you are going to, of course, follow the taxman and pay more today. You are paying more today, which means that you will have to pay less in the future. You will save on money in the future. Therefore, this by definition becomes an asset, and this difference is your deferred tax asset. Great. So now you have a control over what is deferred tax asset and what is deferred tax liability from a P&L perspective. But we also need to understand about deferred tax assets and deferred tax liabilities from a balance sheet point of view. Why do we need to understand it? Because year over year, you will be recognizing certain assets, certain liabilities related to deferred tax. But there will be a certain value outstanding in your balance sheet, which will be your deferred tax asset or your deferred tax liability. And this is always a as-on value. So right now you've understood the P&L perspective on these temporary differences. These P&L perspectives will accumulate over a period of time, and at the end of the period they will become your asset or liability. So let us understand it from the balance sheet perspective. Now this is essentially the same thing, and if I wanted, I would have just filled in this table for you and I would have told you, please remember this table. But that is not what I want to do. I want to teach you how to think about this, so that every time you have to construct this table to solve your problems on deferred tax, you are not just recalling it from rote memory. You should be able to create this table, and you should be able to create it within seconds. So come and see how to think about this. We know the income statement perspective, but you will realize that when we are solving questions, more and more we are going to use the balance sheet perspective, because right now it may not seem very intuitive to you, but the balance sheet perspective is actually the easier way to go about it. Because every year there is some reversal happening, there is some booking happening. If you keep on adding and subtracting it from the income statement, it becomes just too much of math to do. You cannot do that much. I mean, you can do anything, but it becomes too cumbersome. It's not ideal. That is why we always use, in most cases, you will realize we are using the balance sheet perspective to calculate deferred tax asset and liability as on a particular period, and we are also using the balance sheet perspective to calculate deferred tax asset or liability during the previous year or during the current year. Okay, but it is not very intuitive to understand the balance sheet perspective. That is why I spent so much time in teaching you guys what the income statement perspective is. And now that you have understood what the income statement perspective is, we are going to use that perspective and recreate the balance sheet perspective, and you, every one of you, will be able to recreate this within seconds. Okay, so there are two possibilities. You are either talking about an asset or a liability. This is not deferred tax asset or liability. This is just any asset and any liability. Okay, it can be any liability, it can be some provision, for example, it can be anything. Okay, I don't want you to get confused. Don't think this is a deferred tax asset or liability. I'm talking about any balance sheet asset or liability, because of which there is some temporary difference, of course. So let us take a machinery here. Okay, just for example. Now you don't have to recreate this whole table. You just need to know the value of the first block. How will you do that? Okay, so what are we saying here is that the carrying value of the asset, because we are talking about the first block, is more than the tax base. Carrying value means the value that is there in our books of accounts. And this we are talking about an asset. Now, for this purpose, let's think of a machine. So when will the carrying value of the machinery in your books be more? Think of it like this. When will the carrying value of the machinery in your books of accounts be more? It will be more when you have recorded lesser depreciation in your books. Am I right? Because this is what happens, right? You purchase the machinery. So let's say this is the purchase price. Then you depreciate it over n number of years. So whatever is the depreciation on an accumulated basis, okay, you subtract it, and then what you get is your carrying value of the machinery. Okay, simple here, not assuming any fair value changes, etc., etc. So forget all of that. There is a purchase price, you book some depreciation, and you have a carrying value. So if your carrying value is high, your depreciation has to be low. Don't talk about purchase price. Okay, you cannot say that my purchase value is higher, that is why my carrying value is higher. I am talking about carrying value in your books is more than the carrying value or the tax base of the asset in the tax return. That will not be because of purchase price, right? This purchase price will be same in your books as well as in the tax return. The difference will be on account of depreciation. So when will the carrying value of your asset be higher in your books? When the depreciation recorded is lower. Okay, This is your first stage of thinking. Second, what is depreciation? Depreciation is an expense. So you are saying that I have recorded lower expenses. What does this mean? This means that my accounting profit is higher. My accounting profit is higher. If my accounting profit is higher, it means that my income tax expense is higher. Okay, remember that accounting profit and tax are directly correlated, and not just accounting profit, even your taxable income and the tax payable are directly correlated. The higher income you have, the more tax you have to pay. Okay, so accounting profit and income tax expense, direct correlation. Taxable income and tax payable, again a direct correlation there as well. So it means that your income tax expense is more. Now we have come back to the income statement perspective. If your income tax expense is more than your taxable tax payable, what does this mean? If your income tax expense is more than your tax payable, it means that the taxman is telling you to pay less tax. If you have paid less today, it means that you will have to pay more in the future, and if you have to pay more in the future, this is a liability. Therefore, your first block is a deferred tax liability. Because we won't be able to see white here. So this is a deferred tax liability. You have thought this out. This is the balance sheet perspective, and you just recreated this balance sheet perspective with me from the income statement perspective. So now it is very simple. You can either go and think of it in each and every individual case, but I don't want you to go through that much of effort. Once you have filled the first block, everything else is the rule of opposites. Okay, so if here you are creating a deferred tax liability, here essentially I'm just reversing what I had done here. So if here it was a liability, here it has to be an asset. Okay, here if it was a liability for an underlying asset, when the same situation applies to a liability, it has to create an asset. Okay, this is just applying the rule of opposites. I am doing nothing, I'm just applying the rule of opposites. And here, if it was creating an asset, then here naturally it has to create a liability. This is as simple as this, guys. If it is creating a liability here, it will have to create an asset here. It just has to. The math just has to work out. You can just blindly follow it. You don't need to take an example, take a case, and then think it out from the income statement perspective. You can, but you don't need to, because let's face it, this is an exam. You can't waste 15 minutes every time deciding, should I create a deferred tax asset or should I create a deferred tax liability? You can't do that. It has to come intuitively. That is why, if you want to practice, take up as many cases as you want, and this table will hold true. Now, typically what people do is that they just mug up the entire table and then they screw up because they make a mistake somewhere. You cannot by heart it. It's tough. There's a lot of things to remember in the entire CFA L1 syllabus, and the things that you can understand, you should understand, because trust me, there will be some things which you will just have to take it and go ahead because you can't spend so much of time in understanding it. But this should not be one of those topics. So here, what you just need to understand is this: how to fill this first block. This first block should come to you intuitively. Once this first block has come to you, just do the opposite at the other places. Very simple. If the carrying value of the asset is more than the tax base of the asset and that results in a deferred tax liability, if the opposite of that is happening, if the carrying value of the asset is less than the tax base of the asset, it has to create a deferred tax asset. The math has to work out. So this is how you fill this table. So next time you get a question on deferred tax and it is following the balance sheet perspective, then I just want you to first write down this table. Don't go into reading the question. Don't even go into understanding which of the 4 cases apply. Before you do anything, just follow this one simple example, one simple logic, and fill this table out for yourself. It will not take you very long once you've practiced it. Okay, once you have filled this table out, then start reading your question, understand what it is saying, calculate your deferred tax, and use this table at the end to apply and understand that whatever deferred tax you have calculated, is that an asset or is that a liability? Okay, you can calculate the difference. I know you can do that. At the end of it, you might be a little confused to understand, is this a deferred tax asset, is this a deferred tax liability, what is this? At that point of time, just blindly go pick up the table which you have written and just put in the answer from there. The A or the L, the asset or the liability, decide that at the end, but make this table at the beginning. The reason I'm trying to tell you to make this table before you even read your question, I mean, understand that it's a deferred tax question and the question involves balance sheet items, of course. But the reason that I'm trying to tell you to make this table before you read your question is so that you don't get confused. Once you read the question, you start looking at the data points, you get too bogged down by the details, by the specifics of that example, and then you try to apply that example in this table, and then you just get confused and it takes up too much of time, and sometimes it still gives the wrong answer. So just understand this one simple machinery example, make your table first, then whatever the question is, fit that question into this table and make your answer. Okay? So I hope you found the video useful. If you are struggling with any particular topic, drop that topic in the comments below, and if possible, I'll try and make a video explaining that topic to you. Until then, keep studying and keep leveling up.